This art space. Coming on with another art journal page today. This is my second volume of my wine book. I know I've been whining about my wine book for nearly 3 years, determined to get the thing finished. So I finished half of it. Actually, my altered book split into two because I was still learning and didn't take enough pages out and split the spine. Lesson learned: don't glue so much crap in your altered books. Shouldn't say crap, should I? Okay, so here I'm just fussy cutting a couple of images out. And this background was pre-done with Dilutions paints. Didn't like how it worked out, so I did this probably 6, maybe even 12 months ago, and it sat in my book and sat in my book, and I was flipping through it and going, God, I have to do something with this page. So in the meantime, I've been tearing out of magazines and brochures I've collected and just putting aside the images that I know I will use and getting rid of the rest. So I've probably thrown out 1, 2, 3, 4, about 6 boxes of stuff and just kept 1 box of the actual images. So this house image that I'm gluing down here with Matte Mod Podge is actually from JB Hi-Fi, and it's one of their free music magazines. I just love the castle with the colours and the drawing on it on the front, and I think this was the only page actually pulled out of the little magazine. So that's a good tip if you do collect free ephemera from around, whether it be travel brochures or brochures from anywhere. Instead of storing the whole brochure, go through them and just select out the images you'd like, and then you can store them in much smaller spaces, which I've done. So this lady was from a fashion magazine, or she could have been from a free publication for like Our Capital City or something, I don't know, and I don't know what she's got in her head, but it was pink and it looked kind of cool. So the images go together. Didn't really know what I was going to do on this page, so I decided to stick with 2 images on, and I do apologise about the glare. I am trying to work on my lighting. At the moment I've got 1 light and sometimes it creates glare. I'm going to get a second clip-on light to clip on my tripod above my workspace and hoping that will help. It doesn't help when I use Matte Mod Podge that is a bit glossy anyway. So I grabbed these markers that I got. They're actually by Chalk Ola, so the word is chalk and then OLA. They're premium wet white markers, best used on porous surfaces, glass, whiteboards, mirrors. So they're like a chalkboard marker. They've got a 3mm tip, but they're not really chalky. I find a lot of other chalkboard markers I use are very chalky when they're dry and they almost dust off. Now these ones don't. The chalky the ones that dust off, I do seal with hairspray and it seems to work. So just outlining the images. I grabbed these markers off Amazon for a couple of dollars. I got a email promotion through Facebook, I think it was, when Amazon first started, and if you signed up for $5 a month to be a member for their Prime shipping, you could get these for $2, and there was a few other sets as well. So I jumped on that bandwagon, and I ended up doing all my Christmas shopping with Amazon, so it worked out really well. I have since cancelled my subscription because I haven't used it for a month, so I thought let's cancel it and then I will redo it when and if I want to buy, so you can just join up for 1 month. So I was trying to experiment what surfaces these work well on. So they work well on the magazine image here. I find some surfaces they didn't like to go over the matte gel medium as much. I couldn't get a good flow out of the pen, but over this magazine image I didn't put as much matte gel medium over the top of it. Mainly did the sides and around the edge. Seemed to work out pretty well. So just doing some purple stripes. I do make sure I dry the pens in between because they are like a wet paint pen in between colours, just so I don't get cross contamination. So the pink one went on fairly carefully, fairly well. So it comes in a pack of 10. I would love a whole set of Posca markers or Pitt markers, but my budget really won't afford those, so I thought I'd give these a go for $2. They're okay. They're good. As I said, some surfaces they don't tend to work on, other surfaces they work on well. They're supposed to be for like chalkboard, plastic, ceramic, mirrors and whiteboards. Now water soluble, so they did wash off, which is really good. I found that doing these black lines over the top of markers, the markers didn't really like to draw over the top of each other. Now I don't know whether that was because the pink wasn't totally dry, or whether the markers just don't like to mark on top of each other. So I'm going to do a bit more experimenting with that. And my black one was being particularly painful and not having a good flow of paint through the actual pen. I don't know why. Whether I've used it... Oh, I do apologise for sneezing. Whether I've used the marker wet and got something on the tip, I have no idea. So it sort of looked a bit, I don't know, it needed something around the edge, so I decided to do some big scallops and decided to add a bit of interest on the left top and half of the right hand side. So I grabbed some gesso from Aldi. Aldi this year had some gesso when their paints come out, so I grabbed some of it. They had gesso, matte medium, crackle medium, and flow medium. So I grabbed some of each to have a go, and I find their gesso quite good. It's quite nice to use, and it's not plasticky like Mark gesso I've used in the past, and I do use that as well because it's affordable, and if you put it on thin enough it's not so bad. It does have a bit of a pong, the Aldi gesso, but for $3 for the tub for I think it's 500 mils. Oh no, 250 mils. It was a good buy. The Mark ones are 500 mils for I think $11-12 they're getting up to now. I think this one was $2.99 for 250 mils, so that made it a really good price. So I do suggest if Audi do them again next year, if you're into art journaling or arting or anything like that, do grab them and give them a go. None of these videos are sponsored. It's my opinion on products. So just wanting to, the reason I'm using the gesso over the paint is I want my marker colours to stand out, and that's the one way of doing it. So I do go back over a couple of spots just to get a nice white coverage. My intention is to use the paint Chalkola pens over the top. So I did want a nice white opaque surface to start with. Otherwise the pens will get lost in that busy background. So I do love how this art journal page turned out. Just using a water brush. It's old and manky, that one, but I just love it. It's my favourite tip. The barrel's got all sort of yucky water up it when I've used it on watercolours, and it doesn't look the best. Maybe I should get a clean one for my videoing. So what I had to do is make sure that gesso was completely dry before I went and used these pens. There they are again. Oh, there goes my lid. Because if you get paint on the tip, the paint will dry, or the gesso will dry, and that is not good at all. So just going around the girl a bit as well. I do apologise, my big fat head gets in the way. I find I have low vision, I wear glasses, and sometimes I have to get a bit closer to my work, basically my nose on my work. No, I'm not that bad, but my head does get in the way. And it's very hard for me to see when I've got my head down at the table and look up at the viewfinder, which is about 2 inches in size, about half a metre up my desk, whether my head is in there. So I do apologise. I do try to crop my head out as much as possible. So I just wanted to redefine the black around the edges, because I did cover it up a little with the gesso. I wasn't meaning to, but that's what happened. I do apologise for the sniffling. It's a bit windy here today, and the pollen and dust tends to pick up and go up right up my nose. I never suffered from hay fever until the last couple of years, and it's been chronic. It's been ridiculous. So now that the gesso is completely dry, I go back and do a purple stripe around each of the scallops. This sort of fills in a bit of the dead space that I've got around the art journal page, and it also gives the art journal page a border. I could have put the border on top of like her dress and the bottom of the building also, but I decided not to. A lot of times with my art journal pages, I want to create depth and sort of movement in the page. So I have something in the background, which is the background pattern with the black stencil, and then I'll have the girl and the building, which are in the foreground, and then this border sort of in the middle ground, because it looks like it's behind. It's obviously on top of the background pattern, but it looks like it's behind the girl. I tend to find art journal pages work better like that when you try to create some depth, and it adds a bit more interest to the page. So I found the purple and the pink pens worked really well, and so did the yellow, but unfortunately the black was being a bit of a naughty pen that day. I could say a few other words. I also do find it easier to spin my work around when I'm doing things like this than trying to reach over and draw upside down, or draw in the wrong direction and reach over my page. So I do enjoy moving my page around. And don't be afraid to do that when you art journaling. Your page doesn't always have to stay up the right way. And I do apologise for the glare on that magazine page, because it was a glossy page, plus the gloss Mod Podge I put on the top is not playing nice with the camera. As I said, I am trying to fix the lighting situation here, but it's really hard. A lot of times I film at night, so there's no natural light coming in, and I have to rely on a really terrible overhead light, which is really nowhere near my desk. And the one clip-on light I sort of stole from Alexis. I bought it to clip on her bunk bed so she could have a reading light, and I sort of took it a while ago, and I sort of haven't given it back. Don't tell her. I'm not going to give it back. I keep saying I'll buy another one. I do need to buy another one. I probably need to buy another two. Every time I go to Kmart, I forget. I have to start writing myself lists, and then I forget the list. So just filling in the yellow, I really like how this border's turned out. It looks really cool. The colours complement. There is purple and yellow and pink in the background in the colours I use in the Delusions paints. There's also purple and pink in her dress or her shirt. And there's also a bit of purple and pink in the house as well, or in the building. So it's good to actually repeat the colours around your page. It sort of ties it all in and gives it a bit more harmony as well. So just making sure that's completely dry before I go in with my black pen that, as I said before, is being a bit of a pain. So trying there on some greaseproof paper and some paper I've got between the pages in my journal to see if I can get it to start working properly. I knew it wouldn't go completely over in thick black lines. That really wasn't what I was looking for, but I did want to break the colour up just a tad, like I did on her dress. Again, another design element that I have repeated, but I do struggle with this pen. At one stage I wanted to throw it out the window because it was not behaving nicely. So I deliberately left some space above the building between the border. I could have brought the scallops down a bit to fill in a bit more space, but I knew I was going to do some sort of quote. I do like to put a quote on my pages, so I sort of deliberately left that space there. So I grabbed out some white stickers and sort of positioned them on the page, and they were getting lost, so I grabbed some Audi black paint. Now the Audi black paint was only $1 a tube, so I grabbed a few tubes to try, but unfortunately it's not my favourite paint. It's very plasticky and I don't particularly like it. These latest stickers are just cheap ones from the $2 shop. I think they're $2.50 for about 8 sheets. So I do need to add some of the matte Mod Podge, below them and above them, just to seal them on the page, because putting them over paint, and here I'm trying to spell colours backwards, so I have to do, if you're sticking stickers over paint or over matte Mod Podge, you do need to add more matte Mod Podge in, because sometimes they don't like to stick, and then they tend to wobble all over the place. So there I did my word backwards, just because I know where I wanted it to end, and then I was trying to space everything else. So that's the art journal page nearly done, just finishing off with the stickers. I'm sure you've seen people stick stickers on art journal pages before. The video cut out, or my camera cut out, so I didn't film the rest of it. So here are some still photos. I'm trying to work on the quality of my still photos at the end. Lighting, glare, it's an ongoing process to not only photograph with my camera phone at the moment. I don't have a decent camera. One day. I actually love that one. That one looks really cool. So thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon when I have another art journal page.